Arya Sharma never had faith in playing it safe. At the age of 22, with a firebrand spirit and sharp tongue, she was entering the daunting glass tower of WAS International for her internship. The organization was reputed as one of India's mightiest corporate behemoths, and its CEO, Adrian Was no less renowned or notorious. Cold, ruthless, perfectionist. A man whose stare could make executives stammer and quit. Arya pulled down her blazer, grumbling, "Just the right place for me to get into trouble." She didn't have to wait long. By lunchtime, she was already sitting in the enormous boardroom for her first meeting. Adrian Was dominated the head of the table, tall, sharply dressed, with an air so managed it seemed like the atmosphere bent around him. He was delivering quarterly figures in his silky, deep voice when Arya saw something. A glaring mistake. The figure on the computer screen represented bloated sales forecasts. Arya's keen eyes had double-checked them against figures earlier that day. They didn't match up. Her heart was pounding. All the others nodded meekly, no one daring to speak out against him. But Arya's flame burned hotter than her fear. "Excuse me," she said, putting up her hand. The room fell silent. An intern interrupting the CEO? It was unthinkable. Adrian's cold grey eyes snapped to her, knives sharp. "Yes?" Arya rose to her feet. "The figures on slide 12 don't correlate with the real sales numbers in the North region. There is at least a 5% inflation." A gasp went around the table. Executives exchanged aghast glances. One mouthed, "She's done." Adrian's face didn't change, but his eyes froze on Arya like a predator watching prey. He advanced to the next slide. "Are you saying," his tone was low but deadly, "my analysis is incorrect?" "Yes," Arya said unequivocally. "Unless mathematics has begun to lie." The tension hung. Then, the edge of his lips rose in the most subtle, icy smile. "Prove it." With calm hands, Arya brought up the actual sales report she had on her laptop. She projected it on the screen. Line by line, she dissected it, her voice firm even as her pulse pounded. By the time she was done, the room was abuzz. She was right. Adrian sat back, gaze never wavering from hers. "Recorded," he snapped, then resumed the meeting as if nothing had occurred. But Arya sensed it, his glacial interest, honed by annoyance. She had fought the king on her first day. And lived. The next week was a battlefield. Arya's desk was just outside Adrian's glass-walled office, and she often found herself dragged into his meetings. She challenged him, contradicted him, argued with him, things no one else dared to do. "You're reckless," Adrian snapped one evening when she suggested revamping their outdated marketing approach. "And you're boring," Arya shot back. "Perfection doesn't inspire people. Passion does." His jaw clenched. "This is business, not an undergrad debate." "And yet, I just disproved your projections last week," she reminded him, sugary sweet. The other interns hushed among themselves about how Arya was asking for death. To her surprise, however, Adrian never terminated her. He chewed her out, sent her away, glared, but kept summoning her to meetings. One morning, during a furious dispute over client strategy, Arya waved her arms too expansively and, splash. Her coffee spilled right on Adrian's immaculate suit. Gasps were heard. Adrian stared down at the brown color seeping across his white shirt. Arya stood stock-still. Then she said abruptly, "Well, now you look human." The room held its breath, expecting an explosion. But rather, there was a twitch in Adrian's lips, barely noticeable. "Leave before I have second thoughts," he told her. Arya smiled and left, unfazed. For the first time, there were some employees who dared to whisper. She made him almost smile. That night, Arya worked late, sorting through retired company records for a project. She came across something strange, financial documents from 3 years prior that contained discrepancies. Funds flowed into phantom accounts, transactions that didn't compute. Arya's curiosity tingled. She continued digging, only to have her laptop screen darkened suddenly. Adrian. His tone was glacial. Why are you snooping on restricted files? Arya slammed her laptop shut. Because something's off. Do you have anything to do with these accounts? His eyes grew darker. Stay in your lane, Miss Sharma. But. He inched forward, his pace crowding. Curiosity is risky here. His voice lowered, softer. And so is rebellion. Arya's pulse hesitated, but not out of fear. She stood up straight. Then perhaps you should cease underestimating me. Their gazes met, flame colliding with eyes, neither giving ground. The yearly WAS International Ball was a sparkling event. Arya had come in a red flowing gown, her curls loose, her presence demanding notice. Whispers trailed behind her. The intern who had dared to confront Adrian was. And then she saw him. Adrian stood by the bar, dressed in black, and looking every inch the invulnerable king. His gaze cut across the room, locking onto hers, and for once, he looked, taken aback. He moved toward her slowly. Miss Sharma. Mr. Was, she said, smiling innocently. You look nice. Too bad about the personality. His mouth curled. And yet here you are, looking at me. She was about to shoot back when the music slowed to a burnished, sensual beat. Adrian held out his hand. Dance? Arya paused, then put her hand in his. On the dance floor, there were sparks. Their snarls devolved into whispers, their scowls into silent tension. Adrian's hold was tight, protective, nearly possessive. Arya's chest constricted. But then, when she slipped outside onto the patio for some air, she listened in on CFO Malhotra on the phone. Was won't know what hit him. The deal will bury him. Arya halted. There was trouble brewing. Arya approached Adrian the following day. Your CFO is conspiring against you. Adrian's eyes darkened. Accusations without evidence? Beware, Arya. That's how people lose their jobs. I overheard him. If you don't believe me, so be it. But at least investigate. For a first, Adrian seemed unsure. Then he rubbed his temple, blowing out a sigh. If you're mistaken. I'm not. He glared at her, then finally grunted. Fine. We investigate. Together. And so began their secret partnership. Late nights in the office, poring over files, chasing leads. Arya's fire and Adrian's precision balanced each other. Their fights turned into banter, banter into stolen glances. One night, while reviewing documents, Arya muttered, You know, for a robot, you're not half bad. Adrian smirked. And for a hurricane, you're surprisingly useful. Their eyes lingered, too long, too charged. Neither moved away. The risk increased when Arya was grabbed by two men near her apartment. They wanted her laptop and threatened her. She did not even get to scream before Adrian intervened, kicking them into submission with remarkable ferocity. He took her hand. Let's go. They fled down the streets as rain lashed down. Drenched and shaken, Arya spun on him. You knew this was risky, and you didn't warn me. Adrian's jaw clenched. I said to leave it alone. I don't listen well, she bellowed. I've noticed. Rain flattened her hair against her face, feelings overflowing. Why do you even care whether I get hurt or not? Adrian locked up. Then, with a gruff exhale, he framed her face and kissed her. It wasn't cold. It wasn't calculating. It was fire. Arya kissed him again, her fists in his wet shirt. Outside, the storm raged on, but in her heart, something cracked wide open. His frost, her flame, meeting with something they couldn't deny. With Arya's assistance, Adrian discovered incriminating evidence. Malhotra was leaking deals to competitors, diverting funds, scheming to take control. But Malhotra was not going quietly. At the following board meeting, he spun the story around, accusing Arya of being the mole. She's merely an intern. Check out the documents she viewed. Who else could it be? Malhotra snarled. Gasps circulated. Everyone stared at Arya. Adrian rose slowly. The room fell silent. "You're right," he replied smoothly. "She is an intern." He paused and added, "But she's the only one I trust." Arya's eyes went wide. Adrian pushed the evidence across the table. Malhotra's forged signatures, his hidden accounts, his betrayal exposed. The board erupted in outrage. Malhotra went white, sputtering, before security took him away. Arya breathed shakily. Adrian regarded her, voice low. "You were right." "Again." Arya grinned beneath the adrenaline. "Say that again, louder. I like the way it sounds." Adrian laughed for the first time, a true, unreserved laugh. The aftermath was peaceful. Arya and Adrian became closer, laboring together. He mellowed, a little. She harassed him mercilessly. One day, Arya sent a snarky meme about cold bosses who secretly care to the whole company mailing list by mistake. Employees panicked, until Adrian passed by, glanced at it, and laughed. "I can tell your humor is catching," he said to her afterwards. Arya blinked. "Wait, did you just laugh?" "Get used to it," Adrian said, but the warmth in his eyes betrayed him. Several months later, Arya's internship concluded. During her send-off party, she stood in front of the podium, thanking staff. Her heart hurt, not for the position, but for the man who had gradually softened with her presence. As she descended from the podium, Adrian stood up. In the midst of all those people, he approached her, his typically flawless poise slightly dented. "You came in like fire," he declared, his voice ringing through the room. "I expected you to burn it all to the ground. Instead, you melted me." Arya's eyes went wide. Adrian went on, "So stay. Not as an intern. As my partner." Gasps. Whispers. All eyes on them. Arya's smile widened. "On one condition." Adrian raised a brow. "Which is?" "No more perfection, Mr. Voss. Love is messy. Deal with it." For once, Adrian smiled in full. "Deal." The office burst into cheers as Arya drew him into a kiss. The firm would recall that day not for goodbye, but for the start of something special. The hot intern and the IC CEO together took Voss International into a new chapter, constructed not on terror, but on passion. And where ice and fire collided, it did not annihilate. It forged something unstoppable.